Hi, thank you for having this. I appreciate it. I'm working on some personal issues and ending of a relationship. So mine was I need for my partner, my ex-partner, to be open to conversation so that I can have loving closure.
Beautiful. It's wow, I would say almost anybody who has been in the end of a relationship where you really didn't get a chance to process it. And I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank
Um,
you. Me too. This is what I've been needing.
um,
Thank you so much.
it really helps. And for anybody out there, if you can look at your statement, and again, we'll go into really how to do the full blown harvesting of the thoughts later, and be sure to see if you can put an object on it. So if you would say, in this case, with this, I need my partner to be open to conversation, and I would add with me, and just find yourself in your situation. Do you have a moment where you're really so strongly feeling that you need him to have a conversation, like you've texted or called, or can you find a moment in time? Okay. All right. So from that place, I'm just going to ask you, and these are the 4 questions of the work. You need your partner to be open to conversation with you. And again, we're holding sort of in parenthetical so you can have loving closure. But we're not going to have that be part of it. We want to keep it so simple so we can question that thought. You need him to be open to conversation with you. Is it true? And just a yes or no.
Yes.
And yeah, you need him to, and you said your ex-partner, and I'm so sorry, I'm making the assumption of him. I'll go back to, I need my
Yes.
ex-partner to be open to conversation with me. Can you absolutely know that that's true? Can you absolutely know that that's what you need in in that moment when you're feeling so desperate for it?
I don't think I can absolutely know it, but there's a yearning for it. And I just, don't want I don't want to feel like I've hurt him. And I'd like to be able to resolve the negative feelings just so that we can move forward, even if it's separate, just to have understanding and closure. So I guess I don't need it, but it's a yearning.
Right. Yeah, really important to notice. In some ways, that question too can loosen up that thought, the hold on us. But other times, if we honor ourselves, we can't find and we're getting yes, it's what I need. I need that, as we, so don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer on any of these 4 questions that I'm going to ask. It's just the observation, and sometimes the answer comes out of a different place than the place where the thought was created. So you might, sometimes people see through it right away. They're just kind of going along being upset about something and believing you need it to be this way, and you say, you know you need it to be that way, and then they'll be like, no, I don't really need that. It's just something I told myself. So sometimes you see through it right away, and other times you're like, hell yes, I need that. There's no other way. So also notice for everybody, if you can, on this question too, and when we come back and really learn how to do it later, watch the mind saying but. So you said, yeah, no, maybe I don't absolutely need it, but, and then it's giving you your rationale again for why you just still do need it, or at least want it. And we can do this with I want to. It doesn't have to be a need. It can be they should, I want, I don't want, they shouldn't. There's lots of ways to do it, but the I need is the most basic of the when you're really in survival fear or can't see it another way, simply can't see it, and it hurts. It's like yearning. Yearning sounds like a need to me. The fact that you're using that word is, we want to get some relief that comes also though from a thought. Okay, so everybody be doing this along with her on your own thought. So that was the question one. Again, you don't need to memorize these. I'll give them all to you. But is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? And then the question three is, how do I react? What happens when I believe that thought? So you might be going along and momentarily during the day even sometimes we just feel that breakup thing in our body and it feels like it's with us all the time. But then, the thought hits, oh, I need to have this conversation. If only I could have a conversation, I'd feel better. So how do you react? What happens in your situation when you believe that thought that you need to have the conversation? What happens?
So when I can't have it, I feel more disempowered. I just feel more lost when I'm aware I can't have it.
Yeah. And do you feel that anywhere in your body?
My chest.
So how do you treat him in your mind when you're believing that thought? This is still part of that question three, just observing, camera on you instead of on him not answering. We put it back on us. Oh, wow. How do I treat myself? How do I treat him? Even if it's not something anybody can see, but just what you're thinking, and you put him in this position. Or
So like lately I've been trying to like send love and light, when that comes up. Just send loving, positive, goodwill kind of thoughts to him when those come up. But what I tell myself ends up being a lot of blame and shame and, frustration with myself for things I perceive I didn't do well, or I didn't handle how I wanted to, or should have. I should have.
Yeah, that's so painful, that regret loop thing and reliving the way you wish you had handled it. And then when you don't get the closure of at least being able to say that, it's really hard. And I really hope you'll be able to be here on Friday when we do the Wheel of Self-Forgiveness, because you really will be able to get past that. And if for some reason you can watch the recording. And I'm happy to have a conversation with the people that are here and figure out, we'll give you ways to help yourself moving forward. But it is so painful. And of course, that thought is a lot of what creates the yearning too, because it's hard to forgive yourself. When you really do get that self-forgiveness piece too, though, then you're free to have choices about making amends without needing to get that forgiveness part from him, because you give it to yourself, and you be the one that holds you and sees your innocence and finds that you did the best you could. And it kind of takes away some of the yearning to have that from him. So coming back to this piece, though, when he's not calling you, though, maybe the way you treat him is almost like the one who's holding the key to me feeling better?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely element of that, and just,
Yeah.
and, I think on a logical level, I know there are things in a relationship that are two-way that, things impacted off each other. But when I'm feeling that, it's more like what I could have done. And, I think I'm kind of holding him in a place of like infallible, but also like in a place that I'm sorry I've hurt him. As my concern is more there
Yeah.
than.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes we hold that person in a really low place. We really, don't esteem them at all. We're so mad at them for not showing up the way we want. And it kind of goes either way, these polarities. In your case, you put yourself on the down part, and you got him on the up part. Oh, isn't he wonderful? And you forget all the reasons why it didn't work out, or whatever that is. So just to watch yourself, how you treat them, what you say, what you do when you're having that thought. And it's not, what I want to make really clear, if you have the it's often easy to put the focus on the other person. Here's how I feel. Here's what I say, think, do when they're doing blank. But it's not so much that. It's when they're doing blank and I'm believing blank. So have you tried texting or calling and he's not getting back to you? Is that one of the moments? Or are you just even afraid to reach out, or you're waiting for him to?
No, when I
I don't
have,
need.
he just doesn't. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. When I have, he hasn't responded, you know.
Right. So, and that's really hard when there isn't a moment in time of him not responding. There's a lot of moments of him not responding all strung together.
Right.
But you can still capture one moment of you feeling a particularly emotional charge about that and do the work on that moment. Like, so, again, you might, if you got down to it, be really mad at him for not calling you back. And sometimes what happens is we don't even realize that. And we're so wired early on to turn it on ourselves. But if you can go below that, turning it on yourself, and we're totally safe, it's almost like that chest feeling. If I were to say, if it could cry, scream, run away, shake him, there might be a part of you that is really angry that he's not even letting you talk about it. So
Right.
that can also be part of how you react. So frustrated, so hopeless. So, I start believing this about myself. I start placing him on the pedestal, all of that. And then just to briefly teach a concept that does come also from that I learned from Byron Katie, but that we use it in very unique ways sometimes, is what the idea of whose business you're in when you believe you need someone or life to say, think, or do something different than they are. So if there are only three kinds of business, yours, mine, and God's, again, don't please, if it, everybody has this different relationship, and some people shut down right away if they hear that term. What I mean, and I'm using Byron Katie's terms for that, I would say all that is the what's out of your control. Sometimes I like to even use the word is my definition for God is the great what's happening, the what's showing up, whether it's the weather, whether it's the way he behaves, whether it's a feeling coming up in you that you didn't choose it, you didn't cause it. So all of that, kind of the what's happening in any given moment, including how we show up. Because, for example, I didn't think to myself, I'm going to do this with my hands. We are just not calling all the shots. We like to give our minds a lot of credit or a lot of blame when things don't go well. But so given that, if there are three kinds of business, yours, mine, and I am going to use the term God's just to be consistent and simple with this. Yours is what you say, think, do, and feel. Mine is what I say, think, do, and feel, or his is what he says, thinks, does, and feels. And, God's is all of it. So whose business are you in when you believe the thought, I need him to have a conversation with me, to be open to conversation with me? Whose
I don't know how to
business are
answer
you?
that because it's my thought, it's my belief. So is that what you mean?
Right,
Like, I guess that would be my ownership there.
right.
Okay.
And the thought, though, is believing that you need him to do something. So we'll look at it from that perspective, looking at the thought
Okay.
itself.
So I'm into
That
his
thought,
business when I'm asking for something back. Is that what you're outlining? Like I'm
exactly.
really his business wanting something from him that I can't control.
Right. It's what he says, thinks, does, and feels, which is he's not calling me back. He's not reaching out. And there is a level of separation from life as it happens. There's a level of separation from ourselves. There's a level of hopelessness where it's almost like you've got these littlest parts of you and you're telling them, well, we won't be okay until he does X. And the littlest part of you knows, yeah, but we're not in charge of what's going on over there. We can't control what he does. So it's got pain and hopelessness built right in. So I've had people in
Right.
these rooms go, oh my goodness, I just realized in my own family with my husband with so many, I've almost never been in my own business. I am constantly over there trying to read their minds, second guessing, having an agenda for them. Her marriage turned around almost right away when she realized she didn't know what other people were thinking. The thought, they should be doing this, I need them to, why don't they? It was all like, she realized, oh my goodness, I'll come back. And so just noticing that you're in someone else's business
Okay.
is, then that's one of those 4 thought types that we'll talk more about tomorrow. And then if we were to ask question 4, then you put yourself back in your same situation, that moment of, oh, please, I just have this yearning, and you're not getting a response. In that moment, who would you be without the thought, I need my partner to be open to conversation with me so I can have loving closure? What if you just couldn't think a thought like that? I'm not asking you to drop it, but just imagine a you without that thought. You've reached out to him. He's not reaching out back to you. Who are you without that thought?
I'm not really following. I mean, I would be myself, and I think for me, it feels like a reject. Well, I don't know, because if I didn't have the thought, I don't know what you're really getting at. I'm sorry. Like if I didn't have that
Yeah,
thought,
it's
who
part
would
of
I be?
how this is the most, yeah. Um, what were you saying? Sorry.
Well, I mean,
So this is
I don't know how to answer that.
right. That it's just, we may not know, but the hypothetical you that you might see. And sometimes right away, people, they can see the exact moment of the situation, and that they might say, I need that person to stop judging me. I need that person to love me just the way I am. And they're
Right.
like, oh, without that thought, I'm fine. I'm over there loving myself the way I am, or I notice I'm not loving myself the way I am. Um, I'm seeing them over there judging me, and so I can
Hmm.
really be there for them and see them exactly as they are. Like our brains are wired, our egos, and ego is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the part of us that's wired for survival to make judgments, and it needs something. It says, no, I need you to be this. Whereas love says, oh, there you are being that, and gets curious. Curiosity is one of the biggest outcomes of this work, and loving the moment the way it is, and being curious what gifts it's bringing to you exactly as it is. That's the freedom I got when I started seeing the symmetry in whatever is triggering me or push, whatever has the power to really hurt or push your buttons or scare you is there for you. So coming back to that, then, if you imagine, and sometimes we get down to, okay, if I didn't have that thought, oh, he's so wonderful, I'm so sad, I need him too, then you might get down to the anger, like really pissed off at him for not giving me the time of day. Or you might get in touch with things that you didn't like about the relationship too. Or you might just be in a really good place and say, hey, I think of all the things I can do now that this relationship is over. Or I might go over and knock on his door rather than believing I have to wait for him to get back to me. Who knows what shows up? So from you, you may not get anything else, but I'm going to check back with you.
Okay.
Who would you
I mean, I have
be?
had those thoughts, like I could show up at his door, but I don't feel like that. I feel like that would be intrusive. And I think probably the biggest thing is I believe in universe and source. And I kind of feel like this whole situation happened because it really broke me open to try to figure out who I am and, some past things that I need to heal. So without that, I still need to move forward and work on those things.
I love that. It brought you here, maybe.
Pieces of it for
Yeah.
sure.
Uh, so yeah, but without that thought, you can still reach out. You can still notice he's not reaching out, but it doesn't have to be that, oh, crushing regret, what's wrong with me, either anger at him or I don't deserve. Just sort of close your eyes and imagine imagine him over there receiving your text and whatever he's believing that has him not getting back to you. And just, oh wow, without the thought, I need him to get back to me. What do you see or feel in imagining him over there not getting back to you?
I feel that he's hurt, and I feel he has really misunderstood, some reactions I had that are not really the core of me. And I feel a lot of misunderstanding
Yeah,
and hurt on
it's
both
really
sides.
hard. Yeah, and then you can work the thought, I need him to understand what I really meant. I need him to see the goodness in my motives. And you will get to the point where you realize these turnarounds that we're about to go to in that case is I don't need him to see that because he's not yet anyway. That doesn't mean he won't. At least in your mind, he's not. He may already see all that, but your mind is telling you he's not. So I
Right.
don't need him to because he's not. I don't need him to because of the way he's wired that has him seeing it the way he's seeing it. That's his history. That's happening over there. I don't need him to because go ahead. What? Yeah.
Yeah, but when you
And
talked
then,
about like whose part it is, like, I think like past trauma and childhood trauma and those things, I don't know if that's a part of the third piece, how the world is or how spirit and universe are, but there are factors like that certainly have to be considered, that changes someone's
right.
perception. Yes.
Right. And the thing that we do here by boiling it down to one moment and one thought is really not just have to. So many of us do have a lot of spiritual study, and on a theoretical level, we believe it's all happening for a reason, and a lot of platitudes that sound really good that may or may not help you ease your pain or shift your emotional state from point A to point B. For me and for people that come in and do this work, it reliably does. You come in for a private session or you work something in a group, you are absolutely in a different place emotionally once you've done this, because we're not right now with, first of all, the mind needed to see that it wasn't him or his behavior, it was your thought that's causing it. So that's part of it. My thought that I need this is what's causing the pain. I mean, there are other levels. You may need to work more than one statement, but just assuming this is your only one, that sometimes by taking that away, you realize, oh, without that, I'm kind of excited about this inner journey that's next for me and whatever's, so you might, so the mind needs to see without the thought, I have a whole different reality. So it isn't so much, okay, they did that and therefore I react this way. They did that, I believe that, and I react that way. And then the second part of it is you didn't create the thought. So the thing that says, oh, your thoughts are just a buffet, go ahead and choose another one, where you realize, well, you didn't actually choose the thought. It's coming out of wiring that's already in there, but we can rewire it by letting the mind see the errors in its logic. So for one, we just kind of saw, oh, we may not need him to understand your motives. He may not be capable of being able to see it the way you do. He just is not yet. That doesn't mean he won't. There are a lot of reasons. Then when you turn that one around, it would be, I need me to understand that I had a good motives, that I did the best I could. Your pain is a lot coming from your own self-recrimination, and you're the one that needs to see your good-heartedness, that you had those motives, and whether he sees it or not, those littlest parts of you are saying, yeah, but aren't we still good? When you come home and you're the one. And then I need me to see him, to understand him, which understanding him means understanding him over there not calling you back. Seeing and accepting and loving him the way that is, which might bring you to different actions. The survival mind only says, I need them to do this, like the child going, oh no, I need them to do that. But when we come out of their business, we have a lot of options. So to go to those turnarounds, we're going to do coming back to your state. And instead of open to conversation with me, because he could be open and not doing it yet, I wonder, can we tweak it a little bit and say, I need my partner to have a conversation with me? I don't usually change them in the middle, but that just makes it a little stronger. Or we can stay with open to.
No, it's fine. I think I need to have the conversation. It's more
Okay.
accurate.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of what we mean when we say be open to it, means that he's going to follow through and do it. So I need my partner, my ex-partner, to have conversation with me. So I can have loving closure. So if we turn it around to the self, and again, I'll teach all this later. Don't worry, you're going to get this. Is I need me to have a conversation with me so I can have loving closure. So we touched on that just a minute ago. Like, what is the conversation? What is it you want to hear from him? What is it you want him to see? And make sure that you're finding your own innocence and standing what I call self solidarity, standing with, by, and for yourself, no matter what, no matter who leaves, no matter who doesn't call back. I get a little choked up because we're so hard on ourselves, and it's that self abandonment that
It
is
is.
the real.
Absolutely. Like all through the relationship was the abandonment, like trying to make it work, and so I think I just want to have been seen and heard, and him to feel like what my experience was and what the reactions were, why they were there, to understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a wonderful exercise where rather than even just doing the one-liners, you put down everything on paper you want him to say or to hear in a letter. But no censoring, no second guessing how he would receive it, no censoring that would hurt his feelings or make him more mad or
Okay.
anything. And but then you don't send it though. Ultimately, it's what you need, what these littlest parts of you need from you, the ways that, yeah, I'm hearing that throughout the relationship. There was a striving, there was a compromise, maybe a not really getting or asking for what you wanted and needed. And those parts, how have you abandoned yourself over the years? How have you censored yourself? How have you not let your needs be okay? Or, this is about being the hero you've been waiting for. And I like to say sometimes we have like when you have a baby and you know exactly what it needs, but you hand it to somebody else and say, here, give the baby that. And they're like, I can't take care of that baby. I can't even take care of my own needs. So they set the floor on the baby, or the baby on the floor, or throw it on the floor, and the baby's on the floor crying. And instead of going and picking it up, we try to get them to pick it up. And you want him, he's the one, he's got to meet the needs. And this work is about get yourself in a snuggly. And that when you have that baby there, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. You're not going to let them hurt the baby. It's just not about that. And then there are places, safe places like this, where you can hand the baby in the most vulnerable parts and totally fall apart. And the women, the people, the men and women in my community, mostly women, know how to hold each other in that and learn these ways. So it becomes so safe, but where you're the hero, you're the one. So anyway, then turn it around to the other is I need me to have a conversation with him so I can have loving closure. So you're the one that wants a conversation. So if you're the hero you've been waiting for, you go ahead and have that conversation, whether it's just writing it to yourself and using it as a thing, whether it's writing it and sending it off as a paper airplane or burning it, whether it's knocking on his door, leaving him a voicemail message. So whatever that, it feels like you're the one that wants to have a conversation. So, do it. Say what you need to say. That's like, say what you need to say. And then when you turn it around, the final way is I don't need him to.
I see.
I don't need him to. Can you give me some reasons why you wouldn't need him to?
Because it really is something I need to process and share and take care of the inner parts of me. and because he may not even still understand, and be capable. So,
Right. Yeah,
um,
you don't want to leave your well-being over there in his hands. I don't need him to because of all that, because this becomes food for this work, for my work, for the work here with Shawn in this. We can go a long way to get you free, and still loving him and loving what's happening. And he may still come back and you may work it all out. Maybe I find that the people in our relationships, they're part of our mind-made movie. They have to show up this way because life will keep pushing you to come home to yourself and heal those parts where you abandon yourself. So once you become more self-contained, you get completely different reactions from other people too. So even though you're the one working on yourself, it feels like they're the ones who need to change. So I don't need him to because he's not. That's the 100%. That's the reality. We align ourselves with reality instead of saying, oh, there's the reality, but I need this. It's like, no, the reality is I don't need him to until he does. I don't need him to unless he does. I may never have that conversation coming back. I'm not in charge, but I need me to give that to me, that closure, that love, that acceptance, that seeing your own innocence. And I need me to give that to him to find the ways, that you're still tangled up with him, and give it to yourself by giving it to him. So anyway, the next time it might not be completely shifted, but the next time your mind says, I need him to have a conversation with me, you're going to have a little different take on things. And everything starts to shift. All
okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.